Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Redamozo, and I am very glad to be here to talk to you about tackling the interim performance report. As I stated a little earlier, well, I didn't tell you how many years, but I've been in TRIO almost 29 years. So I've done interim reports when I've had brand new funded projects. I'm just not used to doing it for a program that's been around for, more than a minute, right? So we're all in that same boat right now. Everyone in the country is doing this for the first time. I thought it was just going to be for the new programs. Nope, it's for us. But you know what? I'm here just to let you know that this actually, when you break it down, it's not as it was unplanned, right? You didn't go on your Christmas break expecting this as a little present for 2023. But it's something, if you break it down, it is doable. The thing is, it is confusing in the sense that right now we have documents, like I was looking last night, Ms. Fleming, at 3 different documents to get the complete picture. And one document of instructions would say this and mention a section, and the PowerPoint that I received talked about a section. So what I typically do is when I start getting all this information, I go back to the original source of the documents and I try to utilize their language, use their order, and things like that. I also wanted to point out that y'all should have received access or a link to the Google Drive that has not only the PowerPoint for this presentation, but it's got almost all the Department of Ed letters, the director letters, and it's got some resources that we collected and put together. It's got the latest budget letter as well that came from the department just yesterday regarding, emphasizing when you actually have to get prior approval. I thought it was very timely, especially when you're going to be talking about the budget. And there's also a couple of like a shopping list. We'll get into that, believe it or not. Because this is going to make you realize how much carryover you have. So we need to start spending it. And a preferred vendors list, shopping list, in case you want to check that out. Anyway, there's a lot of goodies in there. In addition to that, I came up with a sample narrative in Word. It's just a sample, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail, but I want to make sure that you had access to that. Again, Donna is on chat. If you have any questions, if you can't access the link, we'll try to make sure you can get to it, but I set it up so that everyone has access to the Google Drive. And of course, we'll get you the recording later this afternoon, maybe in a couple hours at the earliest. Again, here's my contact information. If you just go to our website and look for join NEC for free, that'll get you on the blog, and you definitely will get the recording. Again, if you do not want to continue to receive emails from us, then just unsubscribe, no problem. But here's my contact information. You have it in your PDF, which you can download. So again, let me know if you can't see this. So let's get right into this so we can break this down and tackle it. If you break it down into pieces and we can discuss this one at a time, I want to circle back to the key facts. This is for the, for non-competing continuing grants for the current, and I had changed that. I don't know why that didn't get changed on my copy. It's for 22-23. So Donna, you can let me know to make that note. I had made it last night. I caught it and I changed it. It's 22-23. So it's for this year. Okay. The second bullet follows up on that. The info reported on the interim performance report is based on the performance for the current performance period. Okay. So I just want to make sure you all realize that this is about this year. It's not about, this whole thing has nothing to do with 21-22. It's all about 22-23. Okay. Just want to clear that up. It's kind of funny to me that we're being asked to report on what's going on in 22-23, before we get 21-22 completed. All right. This also requires that you use the G5 system. I don't know, that's a whole nother fun thing to work out. And I'm going to try to give you some slides and try to go through that. In fact, I think later this week, I'll be helping folks actually do it. So I'll get more experience actually doing it numerous times or helping people go through that. So I'm hoping I will learn some more on how to navigate that system if I keep doing it repeatedly. And of course, the letter also stated that failure to submit the G5 system by the submission deadline may result in the delay or denial of your non-competing continuation award for the 23-24 period, which is next year. Okay, so they have to put that language there. The big thing is it's due on the 13th. I believe in the for those of you that are going to the Google Drive, the PowerPoint has the correct the timing of 2223 there, because I made that copy. So you also have some key documents. And these documents, although they're helpful, also at the same time were kind of confusing in the sense that they really didn't use the same language at times, or I had to put them together and go back and forth. And that's what took me a while to prepare this presentation. I wanted to make sure I was giving you the correct information directly from the source. You received a letter. There's one for each TRIO program, but they're almost basically the same, almost. Of course, SSS brings up something about the disabilities, students with disabilities and their eligibility requirements, which does not pertain to some of the other TRIO programs, but pretty much they're the same. Then we received some information about the project director's credential requirements for performance reporting and G5, some really detailed instructions and screenshots. These two letters are in the Google Drive just in case. And then we also received instructions on how to access and submit the report in G5. And that was very helpful. Again, you kind of have to look at all these three things, really the first and the second thing listed there to get a complete picture. And you have those documents. What are the key sections? There are 5 key sections. There's a project narrative, which is a summary of the interim report. Then there's that chart, project status chart, section A1. And then there's the project status chart, section A2. And then we've got grant performance project status chart, sections B and C that deal with the budget. And then we have this cover sheet that really is something that when I looked at it, I was like, wow, this is stuff that I kind of never filled out. It's more for my grants and contracts office. So if you can download that separately, which I believe you can, right, Aaron? Let me know in the chat and get working with them. Some of y'all may be working at places where you all are going to take the lead on that cover sheet. But that cover sheet's got some questions that are kind of like above and beyond what you would on a daily basis have to deal with managing your project, okay? So that I'm thinking out of all these sections, that cover sheet might take the longest because you might have to track down somebody to get you that information, which is about, a lot of it's about indirect costs, some questions. So when I looked at all of this, to me, the most difficult section was that cover sheet, not all the other things that you can crank out in an afternoon. Okay.
Lisa,
I know afternoon. Yes, ma'am.
let me just stop. If I could ask 1 or 2 questions out of the Q&A. One says from Michelle White says, I have requested access to the Google Drive because it will not let me into the Google Drive. So should that be happening?
No, it shouldn't. Let me know if anyone else is getting that. That could be something, maybe your university is not letting you have access to it, because I gave anyone with a link can get that. You know, if you continue to have issues with that, I can figure out a way to get it to you individually. Just hold on to our email, or Donna will give your info@nosotros email address, and you can let me know so I can make sure that you get, access to that. But it shouldn't be doing that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's a response to Russell and Michelle. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. There's 2 people. I wonder if they're from the same institution. I hope not. You know what I'm saying. But let us know if anyone else is having trouble accessing. They should not. Okay. We'll double check that.
Thank you.
Donna will. Thank you. Any other questions so far?
There's several. I'll just ask periodically.
Okay.
Especially once you go through the chart, some of this may be answered. So you can proceed for now.
All right, great. Just wanted to give you a visual of what you might be looking at. It's not the greatest, but here is the G5 system. When we were looking at it at first, we were like, oh my gosh, is it grants.gov? No, it's different from grants.gov. It's the G5 system. You have a letter that tells you that the project director is the one that gets the credentials to log in. That's a whole nother discussion. If you don't have it yet, it tells you who to contact to get that done. And then some of us, have to go back and forth with our ID and password because we don't go into it that very often, but this is what it looks like. Please note that it says here, I'll read it for you if you can't really see. It looks like it's going to be down on Sunday. Sunday, and then it'll be back on Monday. So just FYI, if you planned on working on this or uploading over the weekend, you might have an issue there. So when you log in, one of the things that you'll see is at the tab at top, when you log in, you should see grant maintenance. And under grant maintenance, you will be able to click and see these performance report option. So I'll go on to the next slide. And there is a slide that's we took out because it had identifying information, but on this grant maintenance, when you click that, there's an award list. And this is where it would list every single TRIO project that you're the director of or associated with as director. So if you have 3 or 4, all 3 or 4 of them will show up under award list. We happen to select one of them, in this case, I believe McNair. So when we selected under award list, the project, then we click the performance report list, and this is what was there, the interim performance. And then we would click that, okay? And that would take us into this here. And I know it's difficult to see, hopefully on the PDF, you'll be able to see that better. But here we have, and see the order that they have this. They have this in the order of the instructions, project narrative, grant performance, the project chart A. Well, actually, it's out of order here. They go into the budget, then they go into the project status chart, section A, then section B, and then that cover sheet. All right. So what you would do here, and we kind of tested it out the other day, is you would select and you'd have to hit edit form, not view form, but edit form. And you would be able to get into the windows that we're about to see. Okay. Again, not going to spend too much time on that because, I want my purpose is to get you through the questions and the information. I'm thinking about, after I do 2 or 3 submissions, that I'll host another free, anybody need questions or have issues about getting into after you get into the system, navigating within the system. So we could probably do that. So let's move forward to talk about that first section, the project narrative section. Now, this is mentioned in the director's letter toward the end of the letter. So it makes you think that this is at the very end. It says, finally, you're asked to attach a narrative summary. Well, it's actually the first thing listed there. Okay, the project narrative section is a document you create based on the questions asked in the letter to the project directors. And you need to save it as a PDF. And y'all are used to that. You know now that whenever you submit a proposal to the department, it's got it, or any kind of document, they have to have a PDF. So the instructions say that it has to be PDF, and it's recommended no more than 3 pages regarding project success and challenges for the current performance period. No more than 3. What does that tell you? That tells you it could be 1 page. Okay, it doesn't mean it has to be at least 3 pages. It's no more than 3 pages. So I'm going to show you an example. You can see it in the Google Drive. It's in Word, so you can manipulate it. It's only an example to show you how I plan on answering these questions. It says here in the directions, everything on this PowerPoint, everything that that I may differ from what's in the directions, I put in red. But everything else is copy and pasted from the instructions, okay? So the instructions say, include an overview of the progression of tasks that have taken place so far, including key staff vacancies, challenges to meet the number of students to be served, and what activities have been provided for students. Any challenges or successes the project faced during this current performance period, which is 22-23, and how challenges were resolved. I'm going to use that language to do the format. I'm going to show you what I would recommend. This is just me. You probably have something better, but I am all about using their directions, their words to develop the format of the answer. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the Word document right now. And this is typically, I think, the thing that most people are dreading, right? Having to sit down and write this narrative, and I am bringing it up here. You should see it in just a second here. Let me know, Ms. Fleming, when you can see it.
Yes, we see it.
Okay, so here you have, and on your end, sometimes you have to move stuff around to see it, but this is in the Dropbox. It's a Word document. Depending on your situation, okay, depending on your individual project situation, maybe you're having no problem. You've been around forever and you have a lot more successes to talk about. Okay, well, where do you start? I think about someone from the outside looking in, and what's the one document that usually folks go to in the department when they want to see what you're up to and what you're doing? It's usually your proposal. and it's usually your plan of operation. So I just went ahead and took the standpoint of, you know what, to give them the narrative to go through our project success for 22-23, I'm going to talk about personnel first, because my gut is telling me that that's where most of us have either had our successes or our challenges is in the area of personnel. And all of these things that I'm mentioning as a success, you could also say that some of it had challenges. So I'm going to talk about, positive spin here on, we hired a director. Maybe when I go to the challenges, I say, well, what happened, it took a while, but that's a success, getting staff up and going, or even if it's an interim and some temporary people, I would start there, because my gut's telling me that most of y'all probably have carryover in the form of, and if I asked you, where is that carryover building from or coming from? And you would tell me personnel and fringe, possibly. Okay, for a variety of reasons. So I'm thinking that's a challenge, but we also want to start with, hey, we have a full staff, or we have half staff, that kind of thing. So I picked on this bullet. I typically write in bullets. I don't write in a sentence. I'm not saying that you can't do that. I'm just saying, cutting to the chase, I would simply give them the type, I'm picking on SSS right now and the award number. I would put project success for this year. And then I selected to talk about the plan to hire a project director and project staff and trainings they attended. And then I have maybe a couple of bullets, of incomplete sentences, just bullets. Then was there, did we get out to the community? This would change per program, obviously. Did we have meetings with the advisory board? Did we have with the chancellor and the faculty to let them know about the program? Even if you're not brand new, to remind them about the program on an annual basis. Did you get into the target schools? Are you building those relationships? What you could be doing here is looking at your current proposal in the plan of operation. And all I did was I followed the questions there, except for the first one. I wanted to start with plan to hire staff, and then I wanted to go through the plan of operation and bring up any success that we have had in that area. So I looked to see what we were supposed to be doing, and I jumped on, yes, we did it, or we're currently in the process of doing it. Maybe putting some, just not a lot of data information, but just progression of tasks. What about my plan to identify, recruit, and select participants? How's that going? You're about to tell them in the numbers, but you could remind them here, and that you have a really good plan going on. You maybe modified the plan that was in the proposal to make it more relevant to COVID, things like that. What about delivery of services? Y'all are up and running with workshops. Again, students are attending tutoring. I'm just taking you through basically all the major programming components. And then I'm going to end it with other project or participant accomplishments that have come up. Maybe you want to talk about how many students graduate this semester, or receive scholarships, or that the project is at 75% capacity, whatever, anything like that, just to give them an overview of your pluses. It's your brag sheet, so to speak. And it's a sample. You don't have to do it this way. I went ahead and did this way so they could quickly go through it, and actually would help me. I'm big about, if I have to do something mandatory, then I figure out, well, look what I have already. I can totally use this to give to my stakeholders, here, or locally, or put it on our website, our accomplishments so far, that kind of thing. I may not want to share the second part, which is, okay, now let's talk about challenges. Notice that I use the same topics, the same areas. I would say, we had accomplishments in hiring personnel, but I'm also going to tell you about the challenges here. But for every challenge I bring up, I'm going to have how it was resolved, or how we're working on it, or even that we plan to work on it. The same thing here. So you notice I chose to basically, whatever I brought up as a positive, I tried to find a challenge in that area. It doesn't have to match though. I was just trying to give you an idea. And here I just have, okay, here's the challenges. We weren't able to hire due to the economy and how things are, and people, it's so hard to hire folks. And once you find somebody, then the salary's not, enough. Or we're in a rural area, it's very hard to, whatever, throw it out there and then see how you were able to get around it. Maybe you requested for the requirements to be minimum requirements to be modified from the department. Or maybe you got some part-time workers in the meantime. Maybe you have an interim director. The plan to inform the social community. What's taken, maybe the schools were not wanting to have folks right away, or some people have told me their target schools have split into 2 or 3. You've got in there, but what was a challenge? Again, it doesn't have to be matchy with the first part. It's just an idea, but whatever challenge you bring up, give 1 sentence as to how it was resolved, or even if it's your intent to try to resolve it with, the rest of the year. And then, was there any other issues or, regarding participant project challenges, how it was resolved. So, here we are at 3 pages, but I really pushed it. It can be short and sweet. And again, it's just an example. Yes, Ms. Fleming?
Yes. Okay. I wanted to come to a stopping point so we can throw in a few questions there.
Okay.
So is this section, the section that you're reviewing now, I see people referring to A2, A3. Is this a specific section that you're reviewing right now?
Yes, it's the project narrative section.
Okay, the project narrative. So I'm going to come
Right.
back to the A2, A3 questions.
Yes.
So one of the questions is, if, I'm not sure if you know the answer to that, but this is Dave from Dave Carlson. Is it an error that in the IPR letter from James Davis, it is said that the newly funded first-time projects are those with PR award numbers beginning with PO 42A22? He's asking, is it an error?
Well, it says if you're a newly funded first-time SSS project, meaning your PR award number begins with PO 42A22, correct? You will not have a previous year to report on, and therefore you will not have an APR for 21-22. I just spoke yesterday and I have a training later today with a brand new SSS program, meaning they got funded this year because there was money left over. They didn't start when, Ms. Fleming, when y'all started, what, in 2021?
Mhm.
They just started in 21-22. I'm sorry, for 22-23 this year. So those folks would not, I don't know if you mean the errors in the award and that award number, A22, because the 22 is telling me I'm thinking that that's 22-23. So
Okay.
if anybody has, if there are a few programs, SSS, that are brand new right now, they did not exist before September 1st.
Okay, and Dave, you can let us know if we answered your question. Next question from Kelly is, should the narrative be single or double space?
Oh, it doesn't matter. There's no stipulation. I like to do it 1.1.5 just to make it easier to read. Just don't make it any more than 3 pages.
Okay. Aaron Estes says, when I go to grant maintenance in G5, I only have award documents. I don't have performance reports, so I can't access the IPR at this point. Any idea how I can get performance reports added to the menu?
Can you send us an email and I can try to meet with you individually? There might be something, perhaps I'm not sure, but I'd like to look and help you find out. But yeah, I can't, right now, I can't help you with that question.
Okay, Lori, where we answered the question about why you may not have access to the Google Drive, but you can also reach out if you still don't have access. Okay, we haven't gotten to A3 yet. Let me go to another question. Let's see. Someone says, Shelley Siegel says, if you don't have any challenges, don't list them. You don't have to list challenges. That's my thinking.
Right, but I don't know someone who doesn't have any challenges. I mean, that would be great if you don't have any challenges at all. But you could just say, yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't know if these are going to be read unless your budget shows a lot of carryover, or you haven't been spending down. I don't think it's a gotcha report. I also in the belief that it could be where if you talk about challenges, it could be a challenges working with COVID, trying to get students to come as often. Don't force the challenges. As everything's hunky-dory, fine. Go completely with your success. But if you're having a challenge and you have addressed it or planning to, you never know, later on, it could come back to actually say, well, I told you I was having issues with it earlier. It wasn't like I kept it a secret. I told you I was having a hard time getting folks hired and getting trips approved. That kind of thing, but yeah, I mean, you don't have to, I mean, this whole thing, they don't really, that's as much guidance as you got. They don't even tell you single space, double space. All they tell you is PDF, and it says include an overview, what activities, any challenges or successes. So it doesn't say and challenges and successes. Okay.
All right, thank you. I see several people in the chat are asking, I guess there's 2 or 3 people or maybe more having to look through the chat. They can't access the Google Drive. And so I'm not sure why that is, but feel free to email, respond back to the email that you received. No.
And we'll also have the link on the blog. When you get the recording, I copy and pasted the link there. So you'll get the link to the recording and the link to the Google Drive, but we have given full access. So I don't know what's going on there. Are some people apparently some people are getting in, right? I don't know.
Yes, there are people getting in. So I'm not sure. Yeah, lots of people are getting in. So
okay. We'll figure it out. We'll get you the Google Drive. If I have to email it to you personally, or through Dropbox, we got you.
Right. So if it's best to email Nosotros, because I see several people asking one person, please email it to me. And that's a whole lot of people. So you may want to just email Nosotros directly. Next question really quickly is from Jill Olson. Says there was not any font size margins requirements. I don't believe there was.
No, there's not. And again, this is just a sample. Maybe you have 3 successes, go to town on that, and no challenges, or maybe it's the opposite. And I was just going through what would be your plan of operation, and it would be the tasks you'd have to do or the things that you were supposed to implement, get going, in case you were wondering, where do I start? What do I talk about? What kind of order? And I like to have some sort of order, and then I start plugging stuff in. Again, I don't write paragraphs and paragraphs. I just do bullets, list, checklist, bullets. For those of you that know me, I write proposals that way. It's easy to read, easy to digest, so be it. So it's really whatever you want this to be. Just get started on it and crank it out.
And Eric Austin says, are there any topics or challenges we should minimize to avoid extra scrutiny? I'd love to share every good thing going on, but not if it will invite more questions.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't imagine this will be really looked at closely. I think you should be for real. I think you should, if you've got successes, do it. Again, you could make it 1 page. You could talk about 2 things, 3 things that are a success, 3 things that are a challenge, or no challenges whatsoever. It's what you make of it. It's not a proposal. It's not going to be read or judged and scored. The only reason I say, if you are having trouble right now spending that money down, go ahead and cop to it. Go ahead and say, I realize, but we're going to work on it. That way there's not, I mean, there's a record. If they ever went back to see, oh yeah, you did try to work on this earlier. It wasn't like it came out of the blue. Okay. This might take the longest time because you're trying to formulate what to add, what to talk about, what not to talk about. And, go ahead and do a couple of drafts, whatever you feel comfortable with. Have your supervisor check it out and let him or her kind of be the heavy and decide, nah, let's not tell them about this, but let's tell them about that, So you don't have to be the ultimate decider. You can have someone else. You guys can read each other's, to see if it's something that would invite scrutiny. I don't think this report is a gotcha. That's not what it is. I think it's just to check off that, Eric, you turned it in. And, we counted the documents, and we may go back and check it out if there's anything later on, whether to help you mainly. I don't think anyone is out there to hurt.
Okay. And Rebecca Chavis, thank you. She added how to she added on the Facebook groups, how to update your role to access the info on G5. So if someone needed that information, she added that to both the Facebook groups. Thank you, Rebecca.
It's also in the, there's instructions in the Google Drive on how to do that and who to contact to try to get your information there and upgraded.
Great. Any ideas? Okay. I'm not sure if you're able to answer this right now. Cover sheet 11 and 12 are confusing me. This is Erin McCoy. The instructions that pop up when I begin typing in my answers on G5 address annual and final reports. They say nothing about interim reports.
True that. And that's one of the things I marked. I have that sheet. Thank you, Erin. She's the one that got it to me. And then when we were looking at it, I was like, you know what? This is the sheet that you download to say show instructions, but it never mentions the word interim. It talks about annual and final. So if we have time, we will talk about that in a little bit more detail. And I'm hoping that we might get more guidance or information because the instructions don't talk about an interim specifically. Now, before we go on, I just want to make sure that I purposely put too much here so you could pick and choose. I'm not saying you have to address every single area. I always give more than what you need. Does that make sense? Do not feel you have to match to this level of content to make it 3 pages. It could be 1 page. Okay, it could be 1 page. All right. Okay, so let me move on. Unless there's other questions, we still have people raising their hands.
Oh yes, there are several questions. So I'm going to ask a few more. Okay. Let's see. Rob Mickens asked, any ideas of how we fill out the target section of A2? The actual numbers are no problem.
Yes, I saw that question. I can go ahead and move on. I didn't know if there was any more questions about the narrative.
Oh, okay.
Or raised hands about that.
If anyone has their hands raised, please type your question in the Q&A.
So, and I can always come back. If we have time after we're done, I can always come back because I can stay online until a little bit before 11, actually, if anyone wants to stick around for that. All right, so you should be seeing another slide where this is where you would upload that narrative, okay, and G5, all right? And again, I'm going to go through it a couple of times before next week so I can actually experience the upload. I just have the screenshots ready to go here. Okay, and now let's get to this project status chart. Okay, so we need to talk about the number of participants that we're working with right now for 22-23. Okay, 22-23, served to date. So today, how many students have you served? And then the second part, the second chart is dealing with the percentage of participants that meet the regulatory program requirements to date during the 22-23 reporting period. Again, 22-23, nothing about 21-22. That's your APR. This is about 22-23, okay? And to date is the key word. They want to know as of today, or you can, you know, if you plan on getting 3 or 4 more by the time it's due, then, you know, plug that in. So I use the example like for SSS here. So this is what you would plug in. Target raw number, and I think you all were saying this was not the issue, right? So let's say you're funded to serve 140 students. So the ratio is the number of students that you're funded to serve over itself. So example, if you're funded to serve 140 students, the correct response is 140 over 140, okay? So this really you have, this is if I had to serve what, 500, it would be 500 students for talent search, and then I would have 500 over 500, okay? The real question becomes C and D, okay, actual. Okay, that's where you probably will have a different number than the 140. So as of today, this SSS program to date, and everything I put in red, that's me. Okay, but the instructions say is the number of students you have served, actual performance data, raw number. You know what? As of today, I have 100 students, 100 active served students. All right, so then I would take to get the ratio would be the number of students you have served to date over the number of students you are funded to serve. For example, if you served 100 students to date, the correct response to this box would be 100 over 140. Any questions regarding this? Anybody? Okay.
Looking to see if there's any, there's quite a few questions. I'm trying to scroll through to see if there's any A1 questions there. That's section A1, correct?
Mhm. And I believe when you type in the raw number and you put the ratio, like I said, the percentage will pop up for you, I believe.
Oh, somebody had a question about the narrative, project narrative question. In
Mhm.
describing challenges, should we provide data and numbers?
No, I mean, again, this is not, I would just keep it, I wouldn't go deep. I would just say, we're struggling with, well, maybe we're struggling with recruitment. We're not where we want to be, but we plan I always end it by saying by the end of the year, we'll have our numbers. By the end of the year, we will have spent all our funds except for maybe 20,000. And so I wouldn't go too deep. If it's handy and it's not going to take a lot, remember, you only have 3 pages. And it's not something where it'll be read, judged in the sense that it was scored. It depends on what you're talking about. I hate to say that, right? It depends, but keep it, don't go deep. Okay.
And Curtis just kind of, Curtis Grice, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He said that is correct about the percentage auto-populating based on the numbers in the ratio and raw.
Great. Sounds like he's already gone through this, so I appreciate that. Now, let me ask him this. I've been getting questions about the explanation of progress, that box down there. Include qualitative data and data collection information. It never mentions in any of the instructions to fill that out. It doesn't mention it. But, I don't like to leave things blank. So I don't want to volunteer a lot either. So on the next slide, I'm going to show you some sample responses. And I don't know if anyone who's gone through that, if they were able to just bypass that and not have to put anything in, let us know in the chat, right? But the instructions never really talk about that or indicate that you must fill that out, right? They never mention it. But I'll show you what I'm just a sentence I put in there so it's not blank.
Now, Rosaline says, and Rosalind, maybe I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, Rosalind. Rosalind said, last year I left it blank and explained it in my narrative. And then Curtis says, I left it blank and it let me save it without issues.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful. So you could do that. And again, it's not going to hurt anything. It's not like this is, when we're submitting our grant proposal, and if you miss a form or you don't upload a form, that's it, lights out. And if they don't talk about it and they don't ask about it, I can always go back if I have to defend myself and say, well, no one told me to do it. And you're absolutely right. That's whatever you put in here is something that you could, if you decide and you just say, look, I just don't want to leave it blank. That's all right. Whatever makes you feel comfortable. Okay. Whatever makes you feel better. If it makes you feel better to put something down there, okay. But whatever you put in here, I hope you probably found a way to put it in your success as well. Or maybe it's a challenge. So it's at least consistent.
We have a McNair question. Thank you, Victoria, for your McNair question. So you would include your new participants from summer 22 in the case of McNair. Can you give a timeline of how far we should go back?
It's whenever you were first. What's your budget period for McNair this year? Right now, today, when did your budget start? What day, what month did your budget start this year that you're currently in?
We'll see if she responds.
If you're, to me, it looks like all the McNairs got refunded, unless you have a banked year. But if you're like Ms. Fleming, you were funded this year. So you're in 22, 23.
Right.
When did you start? What date was your letter?
Well, we were in it'll be late because we were in the late October, but I think it was still September. I'll have to make sure I don't want to miss.
You're still in our same budget period.
10-1. Sandra Hunter said 10-1 and Teresa says 10-1.
Okay.
And,
yeah. That's usually,
okay.
From that date. So anybody that your year started October 1st. Okay. So October 1st until today, how many new and continuing participants have been served? So not the summer.
Okay. And that Harvard, thank you for responding. And that says the guidelines document you can print from G5 says to use the explanation of progress, quote, if you cannot enter data in a way that fits cleanly into the quantitative data fields.
Oh, okay. Well, good. So there you go. You do not definitely, but if you were to plug something in, it's not It's not the end of the world. It's not going to contradict or mess things up. Okay. All right. So let's move on to section A2. Project staff chart refers to percentage of participants meeting regulatory program requirements. All right, this is, again, the target raw number is the number of both low income and first generation. I put disability in quotations for SSS, but the other programs wouldn't adhere to that you're funded to serve the 2/3 ratio. So for example, again, I'm using SSS, a project funded to serve 140. So 67%, 2/3 of that would be 93.3. So I got to round it up, right? Because you can't have a 93.3 students. So 94 need to meet that. So that would be the target raw number, right? Do you see that from the 140 times 67%, or is 2/3, gives you 93.3, which you need to round up. So 94 is the number that would, the target raw number, okay? So then I go ahead and put that ratio, I take the target raw number over the number funded to serve. So example, I'm supposed to serve 140 and have 140 served by the end of the year. The correct response to this box would be to put 94, because that was the raw number of students out of the 140 that were 2/3 had to be low income first generation and in SSS case disabled. So that would be 94 over 140. Okay, do we have any questions about that? Somebody had put their question very early when we first started, and I want to make sure that response, this is just the first part, okay? It's A, B, we're going to talk about C and D, part of that, because that was a setup. See, it was like, okay, what is it before we even talk about what you are actually serving? What are you supposed to by the end of the year have? You're supposed to serve 140, and in this case, 94 of them or more have to be low income first generation disabled for SSS. Okay, so tell me where you're at now. So where you're at now is, tell me right now how many students in SSS are low income first generation disabled status that you've actually served. And that's their language, not me, actually served. To date, I added that. So for example, I've got 75 low income first generation disabled students right now for this year, 22-23. All right, so the actual performance ratio is the number of those low income first generation disabled students actually served to date over the total number of the students actually served to date. So for example, if you have served 75 students that are the 2/3 from a total student population to date of 100, remember, because earlier you said, well, I served 100. So it's 75 out of 100 right now. That's your actual performance ratio, 75 out of 100. Any questions about that? And remember, this is an interim report. You have time to get your numbers. You have time to make it happen, so to speak. It's not telling you, okay, it's the half of the year. I mean, they could, you could be thinking, well, at the middle of the year, I should have half of my numbers. Well, stuff's happening. They just want to know where you're at right now. And you notice how, if you're doing well, then that's one of your success that you can add to your narrative. We're doing well. If you're struggling or you're not quite there, this could be a challenge. Well, I'm not quite there yet, but we intend to be there. They're going to know, right? So it's not like you're hiding it, but, make sure that you can, get the numbers here. And if it's positive, then say it's a success. If it's a challenge, then go ahead and say that, because your numbers are saying that. Okay.
And Lisa, you may have answered this question. Rob Mickens has, but the actual form has you split up FG, first gen and low income, and disabled into separate rows. How do we calculate the percentage once the two are split?
Oh, on the form, on the website for SSS?
Yes.
Can someone who's already, I think, someone who, did you realize that? Because when we looked at here, on the screenshot here, well, we were looking at the McNair one, I believe, Ms. Fleming.
Okay.
And so
we'll see if someone else can respond to that.
Yeah, and I can also take a look at that as well with that person to help them through that. But it should be, and if someone's addressed that, we have several people that have already gone ahead and done this. When you got to your window, did it look like this, or did it have it split again to do that. But in the directions, it sounded like you go ahead and count them. I think you're saying that in the screen that you see from the department, it actually splits it so that you have another row. Ms. Fleming, I don't know if you've seen it, so we've got to go back and look at that.
Okay, I think
says-
Angelita says, so if I'm serving 86 out of 120, oh no, she has a question. Let's see if anybody responds to that. We do have quite a few questions, and I know we technically are staying on a little bit later than 11:30, so we may or may not get to all the questions, but I'm trying to do my
and I'll
best
go
to.
through it and we can come back. We can come through it and
Okay.
come back. And
Okay.
again, you have those individual questions, you can always email us and I can get with you and quickly find out, because that way I learn too, if there's a different looking window for SSS. Because they sent you in the instructions, they sent everybody, most of the people, they mentioned the disability thing, but they didn't indicate that it would have a different screen.
And Joanne says, yes, 3 rows, 3 rows. How many are LI and FG in 1 row?
Okay, well then, isn't it, even if you break them up, doesn't it equal the total number that you would put over the actual number of students served? It may ask you to break it down. Again, I can't speak to something I didn't see the 3 rows and what we were working on.
She says, Julie says, yes, another 2 rows for SSS. Answer line 1, just on LI in first gen. The answer number of disabilities, then how many of those over the number of disabilities. Next row is, oh, okay.
And then the grand total is, you end up having the same number, right? It actually, the grand total will allow you to count all 3, disabled with the low income first generation.
It's looking like that's what she's saying.
Okay, so it's just another column, but you would just split that, but it would be added up together. Now, on this explanation of progress, we talked about this where you don't have to fill this out. It says only fill it out if you cannot explain, so it was a supplemental. But here people were asking me, well, what should I put? I said, well, if anything, just put that your continue identification recruitment designed to ensure that 140 students will be selected by the end of the year and tracked and documented in the project's database. That could be one of your success things that you're doing right now. Or maybe you can actually use it as, you know what, I know we're struggling right now, but we're going to get that 2/3 by continuing our outreach efforts to specific groups of students to make that happen. So maybe you don't end up plugging in that into your the project A1 and A2 right there where it says explanation of progress, but maybe you can use some of this language for your narrative. Okay. Now on the budget, it says section B, or I'm sorry, grant performance section B and C. Section B is the only one required per the instructions and how to complete and submit a performance report in G5. So this is something I'd love to ask for those folks that have submitted. I get how I'm supposed to do a PDF of the budget. And you all know that you just, doesn't it feel like you just completed or just received approval for your budget for 22-23? It seems that way to me. And so you want to go ahead and get a hold of that budget. You probably have it, the approved budget. I would do a save as and start moving things around that I need to move around, because by the time you finally now are working on it or looking at it again, you may have had to move monies from personnel and fringe into other areas, for example. I'm getting some feedback. Is that on your end, Ms. Fleming, or? Yeah, okay. I heard some background noise there.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So right here, again, the itemized budget, I would work off of the latest approved budget for 22-23 and make any changes that I need to make. And when you say, well, what changes can I make? I went ahead and put in the Google Drive, the letter that came from the department, letting you know what changes you're allowed to make. Of course, you want to get low, approval from your supervisor, things like that. But most of us are having to take money from personnel and fringe and put it into other areas in the budget. All right. Then they want an answer to 2 questions. And I have a question here. This is where I was stuck. I was wondering, because they say you only upload section B. Okay, so I was thinking C would be where I would put a PDF with those questions. So now I'm thinking, do I do a PDF with the budget? And on that same PDF, I go ahead and answer these 2 questions. which is just one amount, an estimate of the amount of funds the project will not expend by the end of the current year. Okay, that's a dollar amount. Okay. And then discuss, if I say I'm going to have $1,000 left over or $10,000 left over, I like to say I'm going to have, $1 really, but I say, oh, maybe I'll end up with 1,000. Okay, I still have to explain why I think that won't happen. And so I might say something like, well, we maybe anticipate if a trip is canceled, or if we have one of our tutors or staff leave early, and we have an unexpected staff vacancy, that would account for the extra monies that are not expended. So that is a little bit narrative, not paragraphs and paragraphs. But my question is to those of you that have submitted, how did you do that? Did you you didn't put it in C, or maybe it allowed you to put it in C, you could, or did you add it to your itemized budget? So let me know in the chat or questions how you handled that. But it's, here's where your project narrative is a separate document, a PDF, and then you have to have a separate PDF now for that itemized budget. And again, I'm recommending you use the format that you utilized to get your approved budget for 22-23. The question is, do you do another PDF that answers just those two questions? Okay. And I know people are probably wondering how much money should you say is left over. And I always tell what you're going to say, even if you don't end up using it all, right now, your intent should be to use it all, to spend it. If you got 80,000, 50,000, 40,000 sitting there, I would still say, I plan on just rolling over 5,000 or depending, and then start shopping, start right now. Again, you never know, doing this part and getting your business office to also look at it and see it, that you're working on it, may help in case you're struggling to get approval to purchase things and move forward. We went ahead and put just a shopping list of preferred vendors in case you're interested in trying to right now realize, woo, I got this much to spend. Maybe it'll make folks realize that you don't have a whole year to get set up, and that you may be funded for 5 years, but that doesn't mean like research grants that you have until the last year of the last grant, the last day of the last year of the grant of the research grant to spend it. You got to use it or lose it. So I would strongly recommend you really, go for saying that you're not going to have hardly any or very little carryover, and state the reasons why you think you're going to have 1,000, 10,000, maybe 20,000. But again, I would do my best to go ahead and start spending. And if you don't spend it all, and they won't come back and say, well, you said you're going to end up with 10,000 and now you have 50,000. Well, you know what? I tried, things happen. I think you might get more scrutiny on these questions, your response here, than you would possibly, with the other narrative. Yes, Donna, you raised your hand. Or somebody raised their hand. Okay. Donna, do I need to unmute you, or you should be able to speak, or can y'all hear me?
No, I was just letting you know
Okay.
the time.
Okay, no problem. Okay. All right. So Ms. Fleming, I don't know if you're available to look at some of the chat to let me know if anyone has gone through this and decided where to put this. It looks like if you could add it to your budget narrative and answer the question there, or you could have it, right now is having it separate, but I didn't want to upload anything in C since they said don't upload things in C. Itemized budget still means projected budget, right? Not projected versus expended so far. Yes, it means right now, what is your budget for right now? So it should equal to whatever your total amount is, right? Okay, it should equal to whatever, now as you do that, you're looking to see what monies you could have left over, but the whole point is not to have any money left over. Okay, this is your chance to kind of let them know. I mean, if you're brand new, we have some programs. I mean, it will be almost impossible to spend all of it. And you can say we got funded late, like some of y'all with McNair got funded late, that kind of thing, the new ones. that kind of deal. But yes, it just, this itemized budget should be what it is right now. Unless we receive any further information about what you spent out. I mean, they will, when they ask the question, what do you think you'll have left over? They'll kind of get an idea. Also, remember, they know, I mean, they're still asking, but they can look to see how much your institution or your agency has downloaded and how much they haven't. So you can't, there could be a delay, and from what they have in their account and what you have, but it can't be totally, different, of course, than what they see. Ms. Fleming, were you able to see anything there about what folks were doing here?
Oh, you mean the Q&A?
Yeah, regarding the question I had about the section B and C, they say B is the only one required, but I'm looking at possibly 2 different documents to upload. So I was wondering if you're able to upload 2 PDFs under section B for those folks that have already gone through the performance report.
I don't see, let's see, I'm just scrolling back through to see if anybody responded.
And I'll have an answer to that. So when I do a follow-up, I can clarify that.
I'm not seeing, I hope I'm not missing a response, but I don't.
And here's where it is. See, you have B and your instructions say B is needed. B is the only thing needed. Only. And so I'm like, okay, I get where I can put the budget here. So I'm thinking maybe I can go ahead and put, I'm guessing I could probably upload 2 documents here, or will I have to, those 2 questions regarding how much funds will I not have expended by the end of the year and reasons why need to go here. Again,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say those reasons, those definitely can go in your project summary too. So there'll be a lot of repetition. There shouldn't be anything brand new here that you're talking about as to why you're going to have monies left over that you didn't mention as possibly a challenge. Or go ahead.
And Russell says, are we providing data for the 22-23 budget only, or do we include previous and future year budgets data as well?
What was everyone here on the call should have received already an approved budget for 22-23, right? And it feels like we just got done, or, in the fall, turning it in and getting it back. That's the budget, that same budget that you recently got approval for, whatever. I mean, that budget could have included carryover from the previous year, but now it's your budget for 22-23.
And I think that this is the report is asking for 22-23.
22-23 current right now.
There's a lot of good questions. I know it's impossible for us to get to them all. Of course, I know, Lisa, you said you'll stay on for a little while. Looks like we have not, we've only dropped, we're still at 400 and almost 50 people on the call. So for those who have to drop off, feel free to.
We'll be recording. We'll continue to record.
Yes, and I'll continue to
I'll stay as long as I can. I've got an 11 o'clock, but we'll keep recording if some of you have to leave us right now. Thank you for joining us. I hope this was helpful. Now, the last section they have listed here is that cover sheet. And this is the one that was giving me the most grief. It's got questions that need to be answered, obviously. A lot of it's pertaining to indirect cost. The instructions even tell you consult with your Office of Sponsored Programs business office when completing this section for the dates of various agreements. And again, this is what Aaron mentioned earlier. See the instructions for grant performance report ED that was downloaded from the G5 website and saved in the Google Drive. I saved it in the Google Drive for you, but I put my notes in there because it never mentions the word interim. It mentions final and annual performance report. So you kind of have to guess okay, I think they mean this. I think they mean that. And this is what it looks like. It looks very similar to when you submit your proposal, that cover sheet, the award number, the project title, grantee name. I mean, some of them is obvious, the project director, reporting period from, that would be this 22-23. Budget expenditures. Here's where, remember someone just asked a second ago, well, how about, where do we put, how much we spended, how much we spent and the difference here. And so here is where you would plug in, how much you had, how much was your current. I mean, they're asking for previous budget period, current budget period is what they, we're all about right here. And the entire budget period. These are questions your business office should have. What was the budget last year? What is it now? What's the total budget amount? And then questions about indirect. Okay, which again depends on the institution. There's no set answer. I mean, obviously approving federal agency is ED. Now it should be the 8% that were covered under training grants, and that's what it should be. Research grants have different percentage of indirect, so it shouldn't be that difficult. Then ask some questions about state, local government, and are they funded under restricted rate program? That of course needs to be something you can confirm. So there are a couple of questions here that I'm like, I've got to get with someone with grants and contract. Are they funded under a restricted rate program? Is that included? There's some questions here. Is the annual certification of the review board approval attached? And so there's instructions there. But again, I want to state that the instructions that are listed there are all about the final and annual report. So it's kind of not a perfect fit when you're trying to answer for this interim report. Now, when I get to are they complete, are complete data and performance measures for the current budget period included in the project status? And this is where I say, well, no, because it won't be available until the end of this year, August, like for most of us, August 31st, 2023. I don't want to say that this is it, because again, this is set up right here. This cover sheet is set up for an annual or a end of year funding, end of grant form. This is what they're used to doing for that period of time, not so much for this period of time. But the letter mentions that you have to do it. So I don't think anybody will get in trouble if it's done incorrectly. It's just an awkward, it's kind of awkward to do when you don't have specific instructions for the interim report. And this is just another slide for that.
And does that answer the question that Stacy has, which is, can you please confirm that we don't have to do C?
All I can tell you is that it says C is not in the directions. It says only B. C, but then my question was, where do I put those additional 2 questions regarding the budget about how much money I plan to have left over and how much and why? I could force that and put it at the bottom of my detailed budget narrative so that I only submit B and not that C. But it's awkward because I don't know for sure. Okay. I'm just going by the directions where it says what the department sent out, that only B is required.
Okay, another question is, there's several people who have said this. We don't have a grant office and our business office has nothing to do with our grants. How do we answer?
Well, somebody's got to have something to do with it, because I believe you can't upload this on your own. I mean, you have to have a certifying official, I believe. Are you also the certifying official? And is it the issues with some of the questions that you have on that cover sheet? Without knowing and I'm almost, I don't want to say blanket, but my gut is, a lot of those answers would be, like the 8% indirect. And I just say do the best you can do it, especially if you're the person, I wish there was someone there you could confirm this with. If it's filled out incorrectly, you did it to the best of your ability to get it in. And if you find out differently I don't think any of those answers are critical in the sense that they will be penalizing you, that you'll get penalized for them if they're not absolutely correct. It's not like uploading a proposal where we might
Get penalized
in the wrong place. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Andrea Cummings, for saying I went through all the pages and C is not included. Thank you for that information.
Okay. Right. I didn't think it was. I looked for it too. Any ideas? I would love to ask a question as to where people are putting those those questions about the budget.
Let's see if we can get to a couple more questions here. I know there's like 6 people with their hand raised, and we're just actually trying to go through the questions in the Q&A. So not sure if we can get to unmute
Someone
people.
says, how do we complete the cover sheet if someone else has to complete and sign it off? Well, you have to get that information to that person. And I think you can download it and try to get that, and maybe you can get the information and plug it in. Or lots of times it is someone's responsibility. At some colleges and universities, they're the ones that are doing the drawdowns, and also they're the ones that are uploading the proposals. But so that typically, that cover sheet has questions that typically are for that certifying official or whoever the grants and contracts office is.
And Shelley says, it states in the instructions that only B is required. Latasha Nick says, do we have to do the executive summary?
I don't see a place to upload that in those documents and those sections that were mentioned. And I don't see it, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't see it mentioned in any of the instructions.
Jennifer says, bumping this question, can we work in G5 in those editable documents and save and return later?
I don't know. I saw where you could do that. And I know in the past I've been able to do that. So I'm assuming that's the case.
I think so. Anyone else want to confirm that? I know when we were uploading in G5, we were able to do that previously. But anyone else have any? Someone says, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Jennifer. Thank you all for answering that. I think Barb says, just to be clear, the answers to 10, 11, and 12 on the cover sheet is no.
Okay, the cover sheet, I've got to look at that. And also I'm thinking I have to see, I don't want to tell you without looking and knowing where you're coming from. 10, 11, and 12, I don't have that. I'll have to go back and look at that.
Gotcha. And Barb, we just dropped the email to Nosotros in the chat. So if you want to email them directly.
And I can talk, someone's a little confused about the 2/3. I can talk them through that. I just need their exact numbers to help them through it.
Barb says, what is the NCES ID number?
For your institution?
Yes, she that's the institution. You'll get that from your institution. Isn't that the institution number?
It should be the institution number. You can go to National Student Clearinghouse, or your financial aid has it as well. It should be probably even on your program profile form when you had to indicate, if you're an institution, what your number is.
Thanks, Angelita, for answering. She said 10, 11, and 12 is the human subjects. I was putting no for that.
Yeah. Well, again, that's something you have to check. Typically, I mean, I would think no, yes, no, yes.
All right, we got a muchos gracias. That's my southern.
Yes, Barb. Yes, if it's on.
Thanks, Carmen. Thanks, Carmen. Okay, let's see what else we can answer within the next 5 minutes. I think, do we have 5 minutes?
But I have 5 minutes if other
Okay.
people.
All right, good. I'm going to continue to go through the Q&A.
I'm glad.
Latasha, what is your,
out.
Latasha Nix, what is your actual question about? She says, I'm confused about the disability input. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that? And then we'll move on to the next question.
I think it's because the instructions, we're talking about that, and some people don't have that category maybe, or are you SSS? Because the SSS window is breaking it out. So you talk about low income first generation, and then you have another column that has just for disabled.
Okay, Bhavani, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Ali says, someone asked earlier about accessing G5 and being unable to see the performance report to access the IPR.
Thank you all.
I am having the same problem. It says the question was, okay, so they are unable to locate the IPR once they log into G5. Someone did answer that in the chat. I can't recall. Let's see if I can find what they said.
You're welcome, y'all. And go to the, if our total number is served, how would you complete the section? Oh, okay, okay, can you email that to me, Casey? I'm gonna lose it in the chat. Please email it to me and I can check it out for you. Is the cover letter, oh, there's just jumping around. There's so many questions. I answered.
Yeah. Bhavani, if we can't answer that, could you, I just emailed you the email that you can answer.
I will host another session. I'll put it on my blog if I decide, let me see how I feel after this one. All the questions I get. But that's why, the only way I have really to communicate with y'all if I put it on my blog. So if you sign up for the blog, you'll get warnings, I guess, that I am planning on doing something. And here's the link. I'm going to offer a lot of free 1 hour webinar so we can get together, talk, and just, things like that. And then you can also check out the other things that we do. Hello, carryover is our best friend. you know, but also I just wanted to get out there just to give you questions. But then again, if we're, please become a member for free. And if you get bothered with the emails and stuff, you can always unsubscribe.
Let's see. And Ada says, my cover letter has the authorized representative name filled in, and it isn't me.
Well, sometimes you're not, the project director isn't necessarily the authorized representative, right? Oh, somebody had a fire drill, about reporting talent search numbers. Oh, I'm losing it. You know what? I'm going to stay on and try to answer some of these chats, but we also have a record of them, right, Donna? There's a way we can, I'll get a record of these chats. So I will try to go through, and it took me 6 months to get G5 updated correctly. Yikes. That could be a challenge, Barbara, a definite challenge, see, the raw number should be the same for target and actual data. Well, I don't know. I got to look at your numbers. I don't want to answer for the raw number. Where did I find the general instructions? The general instructions for the website for the G5 are located within G5 that you can download. But the instructions, the letter from the project director and the instructions on how to complete this report that I based this presentation on, with whatever information I could pull together from those 2 documents, are in the Google Drive, but you should have received an email with these documents as well. I'm just repeating the same documents you received. What percentage of students served show substantial progress? Well, you want to double check. Yeah, someone said check your GAN for, I believe, the award number or things like that information. Substantial progress. Look in your GAN. Yes, look in your GAN. And I don't want to, I believe, let me use talent search folks and EOC. I believe they were set at possibly, and I don't paraphrase these numbers, but in their GAN, it tells you exactly what it's different for each program. Yes, because of the timing. They said substantial progress at a certain percentage. Like, let's say it was 75% the first year. And then, but the second year, sometimes they say they want 85% capacity. Now, keep in mind in your second year, hooray if you're at 85%, but substantial progress does not necessarily mean if you meet that, you're good, meaning they're not going to, give you such a hard time. But if you're at only 85%, if you're below 90% in your second year, below 90% capacity, then you don't get an opportunity to earn any prior experience points toward the next proposal. So you could be ecstatic to be at substantial progress, which is okay. That means they're not going to fire you, but they're not going to promote you either because you weren't at 90%. So I always tell everybody, you know what, after that first year, whatever they tell you is substantial progress in your GAN, fine. But for the second year, go with 90% or higher, go for 100%, but your internal substantial progress should be 90%, even though on paper it says, oh, that's okay if you're at 85% or 75%. Okay. Yes, it's okay, but it's not really okay for prior experience points.
Okay, let's see. We have Sybil says, can you confirm that as the project director, I can't enter the information for the cover letter, someone else has to, or do you mean I should reach out for help and then I can get the information and enter it?
I think you should reach out for help. I think I've always had, and I don't know who does it at your place, Ms. Fleming. Is it usually your grants and contracts folks do it for you?
Yes, it's our grant accountant.
And they probably, I hate to say it depends. It depends how it's set up. I mean, at some places,
or our grant administrator.
In some places,
don't have that.
You don't dare go there. In other places, you are it. So if you're it, then do it. Just get it turned in. Somebody said, what if it's a different person? As long as they're the certifying official now, go for it. Just get that turned in. Don't turn it in late because of wondering who it is, whatever. If it lets you do it and upload it, do it. And the sooner you do it, the quicker you'll realize if there's any issues that you have to worry about backtracking and following and trying to figure that out, right? You don't want to wait till the last minute and realize it won't let me upload, it won't let me do that. Okay.
Rita says we are in the first year of a new grant cycle, 22-23. for which this report is required. So does previous budget refer to the last year budget? I think you answered that before, right?
On the cover sheet, they
Am I
asked for the previous budget, but not in any of the other, I saw that where they mentioned previous year budget in the cover sheet. Okay, but everywhere else, you don't want to talk about previous year's
Oh,
budget.
her question is, am I correct to assume that we do not carry over unspent funds from previous cycles? No, you don't. Unless
Unless you
you-
receive one-time extension, but it was
sometime-
rare.
Yeah, unless you receive that one-time extension.
Someone asked a question, I just saw it flash because there's so many and it just went away right now about, oh, should I just upload my latest approved budget? Yeah, you could. You certainly could. I don't know if anything changes have been made, since then. Thanks, Al. It's difficult, since that was turned in, I'm sure you had to make changes, right? A budget doesn't stay static. I mean, you still want to give them the total amount, right, that you're going to spend, but maybe if you want to, but yes, to answer your question, you could turn in your latest approved budget. You could do that. Okay. So then your only really heavy lifting would be for that section regarding the project narrative, so to speak. And for some reason, the printouts, the project charts are throwing folks off. And for anyone that needs help doing that, I'll be more than happy to walk you through it.
How many students should we have if we are to serve 140 for substantial performance? That's in the GAN, but
it's in your GAN, and it depends on the program as well. I can just tell you from me to you for the second year, if you're in your second year of funding, go for 100, but definitely 90 so that you can get points for prior experience, because typically it's on the second, third, and fourth year. Okay.
okay, I think we have time for 2 more questions. Let's see.
Sharon, are you talking about on the cover sheet where they ask your business office to put the previous budget period and then the current, but not the entire, well, I mean, they asked for the entire 5 years there, you could plug it in, okay, for the entire 5 years. Unless you see instructions that say otherwise. It's not wrong. It won't be a wrong answer. Because your business office knows how much you get. Okay, you can see the package. Great. This is a way where everyone can help each other too, because some of y'all have gone through the process and actually run into these areas. I'm going to be doing that later this week for some of my clients. So that's been really helpful. So you guys have helped me tremendously. So I really appreciate you guys hanging in there with us. We'll have the recording ready and we'll get to all these chats and these emails. And yeah, it says for the final performance report. Okay, so then you can go ahead and disregard that. But it wouldn't be we won't get in trouble if you fill it in. Okay. I'm so glad it was helpful. I hope so. What we strive to do is to help you and to kind of ease some of the tension, and just to let you know that this is your real headache should be your APR, not this. Okay. Okay, great. So thank you. Hope you stay in touch and check us out on NEC, and we will post the blogs and keep giving you information. Thank you so much, Ms. Fleming. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll stay on for a couple seconds unless you're logging off. Oh, you're logging off.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I just
Okay.
not that I don't have to go anywhere. I just have to click in another
Good to see you all. Good to see you all as well. Yes, indeed. Y'all have a great day.
We'll figure out this issue with the Google Drive. Some people can't get into it. That's interesting, right? Right. If nobody could get in, okay, but
Right.
right.
There's just a few people. I saw some people giving some suggestions on how to access that. So hopefully that was helpful.
Something about 5-year program with 22, 23 beer. Well, I don't know when you necessarily started. I don't know if it's this 22, 23 is a 5th year for anybody unless you are banked and maybe are an older program. I'm sorry, I need more information. I don't want to tell you.
She said yes, it's our bank year.
Okay, all right, right. It's your banked year. So yeah, it would be your 5th year. Yes. Absolutely.
Dawn says when I click on the webpage, it does not do anything. Dawn says that.
Right, because we're approving, all memberships are being approved, and we're getting, I guess we're getting hit right now, Donna, right? But normally you should get something because we clicked off automatically approve. So hang in there. Our poor little website probably hasn't seen this much action ever. And it's like,
Don, yeah, Don, let me know if you're not able to get in, Don. You can message me on Facebook if you're not able to get in.
So this is our 5th year, so we're reporting the participant number. Well, if this is your 5th year, it doesn't matter if it's your 1st year or your 5th year. How many years are you serving this year? Question about carryover. Where can you find this amount? Okay, carryover. That's why they want, okay, carryover means any funds that you think you'll have left over that you won't use by the end of August or whenever September, whenever your year ends. So carryover is not carryover until the year ends, but it's anticipated carryover. So that's why when you look at your budget right now, are there any categories where you see that monies haven't been spent? And that's where you can see potential carryover. So this is why this is a good exercise to work on your budget, to see where you see funds like personnel. You're not, even if you hire somebody today, they're not going to eat up 12 months of salary, just 6 months. So what are you doing with that extra money? So that could be potentially carryover that you want to try to spend right now. Okay. And then, so that the thing is, you don't want carryover, right? You do not want carryover. So I hope that helped, but carryover is building right now. So
no, it shouldn't show up in G5, Hyler. You're still talking about carryover.
No, it shows up internally. So you have
Speak to your accountant, if you have a grant accountant, or somebody else at your institution who may be helping you track your expenses. So I'm not sure if you're speaking of carryover from 21-22 or your anticipated carryover from this year. As you heard, Lisa just gave the example of, let's say, for example, you haven't hired anybody yet for this fiscal year, this academic fiscal year. And so that salary, let's just throw a number out there, that salary is 40,000. Well, you know that you have 40,000. Let's just say that's the only potential carryover that you have, 40,000, because you haven't hired anybody. Well, let's say you're going to hire that person in March. Well, the end of your cycle would be August. So that means out of the 40,000, again, I'm just throwing out random numbers, you're only going to spend 30 of that 40,000. So your anticipated carryover.
Right. And actually, the question that you should ask them is, they won't see the carryover, right? They won't see it, but you could ask them, what, are there any categories here? Like, go to personal and fringe. Have you had a full staff? You kind of have an idea that I think I have extra money sitting in fringe. So let me go ahead and try to estimate how much will be unspent. Accountants usually don't do the forecasting, so they can say, I don't know what you're talking about. So you kind of have to, like, in a way, because what has been spent, hasn't been spent, you can ask them, well, are there any categories where I'm underspending? That's where you could look for the carryover. Did you guys see my questions about question 12 on the cover page regarding the project status chart? Is it a yes or no? Let me go back real quick to look. I've got to go back in my slides here. Oops.
Did you guys see my question about questions 12 on cover page?
Let me look on 12 on the screen.
Okay.
Okay, let me move this. 12. Performance measures are complete data and I think I mentioned that earlier, just a while ago. Are the complete data measures for the current budget included in the project status? I would put no, because we didn't talk about your objectives. We just talked about which are performance measures. We just talked about the number of people. When will they be available? I'll just put August 31st, 2020.
Yeah, we don't see your slide. We see your screen.
I'm sorry. Okay, my bad. Thank you. That's why I need y'all here to babysit me. This one here, performance measure status, are complete data. And even if it's not complete because you're in the middle of the year. This cover sheet is not designed for an interim report. It only thinks it's a final report or that it's a annual report. So I would put no. when will it be available? I'll have it ready anytime after August 31st, for example, 2023.
Q11 on the cover sheet is a Q11.
Is a
I
statement
mean, question 11.
affirming that you're aware of federal and state data security and privacy, including supporting documentation attached. I don't know about that. I mean, I would think you have a statement. Does your college have a statement saying you're aware? That could be something that's required from your institution. So hopefully you check yes, and you'll be able to upload it down at the bottom where it allows you to upload files. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, I'm gonna have to log off. Please send those questions to info@nosotros.edu, nosotrosorg.edu. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. I'm rattling off here. Yes, there it is. Thank you. COVID brain. And we can try to do our best to answer you, okay? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, and Heidi, yeah, number 10, email me, please. And we've got a question about UB, so I hate to log off, but please email me that question, okay?
You guys have a great day. Thank you for joining.
I'm gonna stop the recording now.